Hello, my name is Jacqueline Andrews. I'm a consultant rheumatologist and clinical director at Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust. And this is Dr. Anne-Maree Keenan, who is Assistant Director at Leeds Biomedical Research Unit. We're here today to have an interview with Linda Pollard, Chair of Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust, who's very kindly agreed to give us some details about her career to date as part of our newly launched Leeds Female Leaders Network. Thank you, Linda.
Hello. Linda, you've had a tremendously successful career. Could you give us some highlights and a brief overview of your career?
Where on earth would I start? It's been a fascinating career, and I think I look back and wonder how on earth I've managed to do so much, and hopefully will continue to do more. How did it start? I was educated in Yorkshire. I went down to London for a period of just over 4 years. I came back on the promise of a role back here in the north of England, which I was ready to do. I was ready to come home. And then it collapsed. The progression that that particular individual wanted, he decided not to expand. I was so irritated that I went out, wrote a business case, raised the money and started my first business. When I look back now, it frightens me to death. I cannot imagine what my folks thought. But I did it, and we had a chain of retail, we owned the properties. I thought, I quite like this. I was doing all the marketing and all the property work. I didn't do any of the kind of hands-on stuff, basically. That led me, 14 years later we sold, led me back into marketing, and I started a marketing company that then finished up 4 times bigger than the original. All of that period, I've had a foot in the public sector as well, the whole period. So I was a magistrate at 34, I did all that mandatory training, which was fantastic. That laid down a fantastic foundation for public sector. And the whole thing then has just rattled on and on since then. I've always run in parallel lines, private and public sector together, because my great belief is there is very little difference. There were differences a long time ago. There is less and less differences because what you're running is a business. You know, your shareholders are not shareholders clearly, but they're stakeholders in terms of patients. Your bankers are not quite bankers, but nevertheless you've got a department who's giving you money, and you've got a board. Nothing is different apart from the language. So consequently, I've multitasked my entire career, and it's been great fun. Always do something that you're enjoying doing.
Linda, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received in your career?
It's probably about 10 years ago, for someone who I have enormous respect for. And she happened to live in my village. It was a social event, but she is a member of the House of Lords. And she asked me how I'd become involved in health. And I said I had absolutely no idea how anything as part of my career, certainly hadn't been planned. And she asked me again, persistently I would say, how I saw the particular opportunity of the one I was working in at the time. And I said, well, I saw a door open and I thought that was an opportunity. And she said, no, it's more than that. You may see the opportunity, the door is open, but now I've talked to you, what you will do is really give it a good kicking and open it more and look for more and more opportunity. I actually had to go away and think about that because I didn't think I'd made, quite frankly, the best impression that I could have done with that individual, and I was out to impress that particular day. However, thinking back, yes, I think that's what I do, but you have to look for the opportunity and then recognise it and kick the door.
From your perspective, what do you think are the major challenges for women to achieve leadership roles?
I think they're changing because when I started my career, education progression was somewhat limiting, to be fair. I think there was one girl in my whole year that went on to further education or even higher education. Pretty grim statistic. Interestingly, I met her fairly recently and she was the one that hasn't succeeded. I don't know what on earth happened there, but it was really appalling. That doesn't happen anymore now. So the opportunities are there right up to degree period. After that, they get into certain roles, they progress, and then we get the wobble. So this is all about how you perceive yourself, a lot of it. And we do need career breaks for obvious reasons, you know, and it may be just you want a career break, or you may decide that you want to switch careers or whatever. So there's lots of things happen to women and men during this period, but we don't seem to be able to get them back on the ladder in quite the same way. We don't think we're quite as aggressive about our careers, particularly at certain times. We're great through education, and then we get this kind of plateauing out. This is about self-belief. It's where you think, do I want a job or do I want a career? It's not for everyone, and we shouldn't ever imagine it is. But there aren't the ceilings that there were. My honest belief is that the major ceiling is in your head. If you get through that, and there are lots of things that stop it, then you're on the road to success. But you do have to work extremely hard. You have to do all that confidence building. You need a massive network, and in and outside of both your comfort zone and your sector. That is hugely, hugely important. And constantly learn, constantly build on what you think is your base skill. It's never ending, and it should never be ending. If you do all that, the sky's the limit. You can go anywhere. No pressure there.
Brilliant. I'm going to go out.
You're going to do it. That's fine. That's your fun. Good.
And have you personally faced any organisational or workplace barriers?
Lots. What you've got to remember is that my career started many generations ago, quite frankly, and the opportunities simply weren't there. So to work the system as it is getting better, but as it stood at the time, was quite difficult. And you had to manoeuvre a lot more. You had to manage situations. And when you're younger, you probably don't see back to the open door again quite where you need to manoeuvre and quite where you need to find yourself. So the barriers were there. Very, very male-dominated world I've lived in. You know, when I think back to where I started my career, I was in marketing in London. I came back to the north of England. I went back into the fashion industry, which I'd had a foothold in. And then I went back into marketing. I was in the automotive industry. Lots of male-dominated areas. And very few women at that time, interestingly, even within the fashion industry. And that was a long time ago. But you have to work, you have to gain respect. I think that is the one big thing. Respect is not given. You have to earn respect. And it has been quite a ladder to actually gain that male respect in a very male-dominated situations. And you also never say you'll do something and never deliver. You always have to deliver. And I hate to say it, but I've always felt you've had to work that little bit harder.
Thank you.
Linda, I'm intrigued. What advice would you give your younger self?
Listen, learn, and then go with some gut reaction. You know, I think I've always worked on that third sense of, shall I do it? Shall I not do it? I think I'd probably taken a little bit more risk earlier. Easy to say, harder to do.
And finally, what would you like to achieve as a leader in the coming 5 years?
Well, if it's a leader here at Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust, it would be simply that we have got to face the challenges that we have currently, but we'll come out of this with being the best in the UK. Not just simply, you know, our financial status, which is a long way to go, but we will be the best employer, we'll have the best facilities, and we'll be doing the best for our patients. That's a given, quite frankly. But equally, if I actually escalated that across to our partners, and some of our partners have been with us today, then I would equally say that the partnership working between Leeds City Council, the universities, our external partners are pivotal. If that has happened in the next, say, 5 years, and we've certainly got Leeds on the map not just regionally, but nationally, and increasingly more internationally, I will feel that we've really achieved. In the rest of my world, because it just doesn't happen to sit in health, I never stop wanting to achieve. There is something either wrong with my psyche, but there is a constant, there's something else there that's a challenge that I actually quite relish, quite frankly. So who knows, 5 years' time, I don't know, might be something new.
Thank you so much for your time today, Linda.
Thank you.